This document is without prejudice. Eat what is put on your plate.
At an early age I was into science, like mothers do. My mom at times entreated me to eat stuff. Now and then my mom would try to coerce me by telling me what she recommended had a scientific basis. But I could not be fooled. Although being a child I did not have a lot of personal data to draw upon to help me decide what was science, and no cell phone, no internet, no TV. Born to alchemy, I did have an inborn sense of what was not science. Plus, my dad taught me to always trace things back to their source, so I had to check out the Canada food guides that Mom had shown me. In retrospect, I think she wanted me to either reject or validate them for her.
Although the source of the Canada food guides was Louis Pasteur, they are not science. The government first meddled in our food due to pressure from the dairy industry. Until they began heating the milk as Pasteur told them to, it could not be delivered to consumers before it rotted. The general public had lost their taste for cow's milk. The dairy industry went to government telling them that drinking cow's milk every day was a way to maintain health, so the government passed the message on to the public and milk sales soared. Next came the meat producers. They cried unfair. They explained to government that eating meat every day was also a way to maintain good health. The government passed the message on to the public and meat sales increased. This brought the greengrocers and the grain growers to the offices of government saying eating fruit and veggies and grains every day was also a way to maintain health. The government passed on the message and the Canada Food Guide came into being. This arbitrarily placing foods into groups, for reasons that were to begin with just silly, was taught to nutritionists and dietitians. A big boo-boo, by the way.
Nowadays the Canada Food Guide even includes coaxing to eat what they call ethnic recipes. It seems the immigrants were feeling left out, and in the touted, melted pot of Canada that will just not do. In effect, immigrants are legislating what Indigenous people will be eating. Some say that you are what you eat. If I eat North American, I will remain one. If I eat Chinese, well.
The Canada Food Guides are a sham. Those who base their diets upon them will only maintain good health if they are lucky or already have strong constitutions. These silly ways of grouping foods can only lead people away from good health.
Oh yeah, for what it is worth, my health is the envy of others my age, as would be expected of those whose level of science is high. These are things that I have kept to myself since our mom died. I share them now in her memory. I do group food, but do it somewhat differently. My prime dietary consideration is sufficient fuel. I have learned how many calories it takes to do the things I do in a day and how much energy the things I am thinking about eating contain. When I plan a meal, I try to take on at least enough fuel to make up for what I did during the day. When I will be doing hard work, I take on enough fuel in advance to last out the day so that I will not have to go into my precious fat reserves. This method of eating has served me well, and I can still fit into clothes I had at age 21. When I am thinking of making a meal, I first decide upon what carbohydrates I feel like eating. For example, spuds or pasta or rice or squash or baked things like sweet pastries. Compared to most, I eat a lot of sugar. Per capita sugar consumption in Canada is 35 pounds per year. I eat more than that.
By the way, and for what it is worth, the aversion to sugars in the misled general public stems from those who must avoid sugars as they are or were overrun with Candida albicans fungi, which until recently was among the top 3 causes of ill health on our continent. Those who parade on about sugar are not normal people. A normal person can eat as much sugar as they please, providing they include enough chromium as one of their nutrients. These irksome, defective, parasite-ridden people and their dupes have even had laws passed to restrict the consumption of sugar by normal humans.
I eat according to a plan. I like to have the full range of carbohydrates available, from starch to glucose and everything in between. The ratios vary depending upon whether or not I will be resting or exerting myself after the meal. As my human nervous system is based upon the element sodium and my digestive system is based upon hydrochloric acid, not upon microbes as ignoramuses are led to believe by the dairy industry, so I salt most everything I consume. I measure it with care and add a lot of salt to my food after cooking. Also, the amount of salt I consume depends upon how much fluid I pass during the day.
All table salt is sea salt. It is best to get salt from a salt mine in some inland sea of long ago, best because it could have no human pollutants, as humans did not exist to piss in it. A typical analysis of off-the-shelf salt shows 27 different elements. The ignorant ones think it is just sodium chloride.
After the fuel has been chosen, I choose what nutrients I require. I am familiar with the chemistry of everything, so I know approximately which type and how much of the desired nutrients are in the food I am preparing, and then go to my laboratory and use highly refined supplements to make up the difference.
There's no need to say don't try this at home, folks, as only those whose chemical science high would have what it takes to do it. This amount of forethought is second nature and no chore at all for a chemist. Every meal cooked this way is satisfying, but it will also extend a normal person's functional lifespan. That is the only bad side effect. So if you are tired of living, do not copy this person, just carry on as you are likely doing now.
I began eating like this at about age 17. When choosing supplements, I pause a moment, feel my body. I think of a few things like how much I have smoked that day and check myself out for what needs adjustment or repair, and then take the supplement that will facilitate the healing.
Only those who are self-aware can expect to maintain their health.
Next on my menus always comes fat. I try to have a wide variety of fats, oils, lipids, whatever you want to call them, on hand. The ratios of one type of fat to another is important to me. I /at plenty of fat and all kinds of fats. Always have. My only concern is the ratios of one to another in my overall diet.
The brainwashed public are wholly confused about fat, oils, lipids, whatever you choose to call them. This can be laid at the feet of those who think globally. Included in this thinking is shipping food around the globe. Fats go rancid and cannot be shipped tens of thousands of miles and can't be stored for long periods. So the public was taught to avoid fats, oils, lipids, whatever you want to call them. And woe betide them.
Another consideration for me is a source of bioflavonoids to be included in my meal, and this is where I finally reach the boundaries of my knowledge. Zoot alders. Bioflavonoids is a chemical domain that I have just begun to explore. There is a, not understood by me, synergy between the elements of the periodic table and bioflavonoids with regards to maintaining health. These delicate molecules are to be found in plants. This much I do know, so I try to include parts of plants that are purple or near purple with each meal. Purple is the first color I look for in selecting plants to eat.
After 10,000 years of cultivation, few purple food plants remain. Due to traditional farming methods employed by ignorant farmers, only weak hybrids remain. Grow a hybrid organically or otherwise. The nutritional difference is to a chemist not significant, though to a salesperson it would be. Two examples are potatoes and maize. Corn, 10 eons ago internally they were both dark purple with no other colors showing. Yellow and white hybrid maize corn is so dependent upon humans it cannot survive without them now. Too few people know that about 1970 a worldwide fungi blight nearly removed hybrid maize corn from this planet. Maize corn almost become an extinct species. It is scary to understand that just 80 plants, 80 feed the human race fuel-wise. Most are already so hybrid that their continued survival is in doubt. Meditate on that for a while, it will make you shiver. Efforts are being made to genetically modify these plants back to where they were nutritionally 10,000 years ago, and give them back some ability to compete with other species so they can get along without human interventions. but is not going ahead due to opposition by the descendants of the same people that degraded our food plants over the eons with their superstitions and traditional farming methods. A hip farmer once said to me, "We have found the enemy, and they is us."
Normally, I give little, if any, consideration to amounts or types of proteins I include in my diet. It is only during times of extreme physical stress that I both crave and consume extra of amino acids, often in the form of meat.
The obsession with getting enough protein can be traced back to the 1950s when the misbegotten, think globally, busybodies were exploring the dark continent and sent back pictures of protein-deficient children. The guileless public lapped up this malarkey, and fears of having such offspring resulted in moms heaping our tables with meats, and overconsumption of meat became the norm.
Eternal vigilance, keeping up with the types of toxins I may encounter, is vital to maintaining my health. Although I take the time to be aware of the hazards, I make few if any attempts to avoid toxins, as in most cases it is futile. With the exception of radioactive particles, I have no fear of things toxic, since my understanding of chemistry naturally includes knowing antidotes, and to a scientist like me there is an antidote for everything, even some forms of death. I am often able to anticipate the kind of toxins I will encounter during a day, and may at times take the antidotes prior to exposure. From age 13 to age 27, the periodic table of the elements was my mandala. My meditations have given me the ability to see the chemistry of any and everything I am likely to come across in my lifetime. Not just meditations, I have had 3 almost fully equipped personal laboratories so far. If I need some zinc, etc., I can always find it. The periodic table of the elements is my menu. The ways I combine foods is derived from qualitative and quantitative analysis of all ingredients. This usually results in exquisitely delicious eating. Okay. And that's all she wrote. All who are born to alchemy must choose to take one of 2 roads, one leading to transmutation of the elements, the other to enjoying health while becoming immortal. I made the choice at age 14. Guess which one I chose? Guess how old I am now? Have a nice eating.